The family of an Ontario man who was shot dead by police is demanding the officer involved be immediately fired and a public inquiry launched. 62-year-old Ejaz Choudry was suffering from schizophrenia and may have stopped taking his medication. His death has sparked days of angry protests outside the building where he lived. And that's where we find Global Toronto's Sean O'Shea tonight. Sean.
Robin, this protest involves the shooting death of a 62-year-old man with mental illness. It is the second shooting of its kind since April involving the same police department. Anger and frustration stemming from the latest death of a mentally ill man in Mississauga, 62-year-old Ejaz Choudry.
He was schizophrenic and he did have a history of mental illness, but I don't think that was he needed to be killed for that.
He's like the neighborhood uncle. He would ask everyone how you're doing. You know, he's a really nice and sweet man, and it's so sad to see his life being taken away.
Peel police responded to a call for help late Saturday afternoon, a report of a man in crisis who was not taking his medication. Arriving at Choudry's residence, officers fired a taser, then plastic projectiles, then used deadly force. Police say Choudry had a knife, but he was alone in the apartment when police burst in.
Going in heavily armed and so on and so forth, not the way to go.
Criminology professor Rob Gordon says the police approach here appears to make no sense.
What are they thinking?
Earlier this month, the same police force shot and killed 26-year-old DeAndre Campbell. He also had schizophrenia. Family members remembered him at an anti-racism protest this month.
Because at this point, we don't feel like human beings. It's like shoot first and ask questions later.
Peel's chief of police recently told Global News there needs to be a better job dealing with mental health calls.
It's the opposite outcome than what we ever took our oath to do. Should there be bolstering of other systems so that I don't have to be, or my officers don't have to be at the doorstep of people in a mental health crisis? 100%.
The community is demanding answers, insisting police be forced to explain why they shot a man dead who was apparently only a threat to himself.
That was a cold-blood murder.
That's a first-degree murder.
Yeah, that's a cold-blood murder.
We want justice. We want whoever did what they did to be held accountable.
It's happening again and again and again, and the police are not being held accountable for their action.
That justice will have to wait, as the province's Special Investigations Unit has now invoked their mandate, meaning this community may not have answers for some time. This case is now in the hands of Ontario's Special Investigations Unit, which looks into all police-related deaths. But the community and the family say they're not satisfied with anything less than a public inquiry and the officer being fired. Robin.
Sean O'Shea in Mississauga, Ontario. A noose, one of the most threatening images of America's long history of racist violence, was left in the garage of NASCAR's only black driver, sparking an FBI investigation. But today there was a powerful moment trackside as fellow drivers stood by Bubba Wallace, pushing him to the front of the pack. Wallace has been extremely vocal in the wake of George Floyd's death, demanding justice. He's also the driving force that pushed NASCAR to ban the Confederate flag from its facilities and events, which went into effect this month. In a statement, Wallace says the despicable act of racism and hatred leaves me incredibly saddened and serves as a painful reminder of how much further we have to go as a society and how persistent we must be in the fight against racism.